children, today we are going to see phrases and clauses. Before seeing what is meant by phrases and clauses, we will revise what is meant by subject and predicate. See these examples. The big green frog jumped across the log. The big green frog jumped across the log. In this sentence, which is the subject? The big green frog. Okay, you have to include the article the also. The big green frog is a subject. Jump across the log is a predicate. See the next sentence. My sweet grandmother wore a blue dress. My sweet grandmother wore a blue dress. Here, my sweet grandmother is a subject or a blue dress is a predicate. Okay, compare these two sentences. Here, the big green frog is a subject. Rest of the thing is a predicate. Okay, here, my sweet grandmother is a subject. Rest of the things in the sentence is a predicate. Apart from the subject, whatever is in the sentence, it is a predicate. Okay, now we see what is meant by subject and predicate. Actually, what is meant by subject? Subject is nothing but doer of an action. Okay, the whole sentence talks about the subject. Predicate is nothing but it tells what the subject does. What the subject does. Okay, compare this with the first example. Okay, the big frog. Okay, the whole sentence talks about the big green frog. So the big green frog is the subject and predicate tells what the subject does. Okay, here the big green frog jumped across the log. So the jump across the log is the predicate. Now we will see what is meant by phrases. Okay, see these examples. The black hat in the wind ran quickly to catch. The black hat in the wind ran quickly to catch. Okay, is it a complete sentence? No, it doesn't. It does not a complete sentence, but it gives a meaning, isn't it? Okay, it is not a complete sentence, but it gives a meaning. The black hat. Okay, by reading this we can understand what is that. Okay, and in the wind also we can understand. Ran quickly to catch. This also we can understand, but it is not a complete sentence. Okay, it gives a meaning, but it is not a complete sentence. From this, can you say what is meant by phrases? Okay, phrases is nothing but group of words which does not contain a subject or a verb. That is called phrases. It gives a meaning, but it is not a complete sentence. Okay, a phrase is a group of words that forms a meaningful unit. Okay, is it meaningful? Yes, it is meaningful, but it is not a complete sentence. It is a complete sentence? No, it is not a complete sentence. The black hat is not a complete sentence. Is it giving meaning? Yes, it gives a meaning, but it is not a complete sentence. Okay, it does not have a subject or a verb. Okay, subject. Noun phrase act as a direct object. Noun phrase act as an indirect object or object of preposition. Example: the yellow house is for sale. The yellow house is for sale. Here noun phrase is the yellow house. Here it is act as a subject. Next, should we buy the yellow house? Here the yellow house is a phrase. It acts as a direct object. Next, Karan lives in the yellow house. Here it acts as a object of preposition. Next, Leela gave the little boy candy. Okay, here the little boy candy. Here it acts as a indirect object. Is it clear? Next kind of phrase is verb phrase. Verb phrase is a group of words made up of a verb, helping verb and modifiers. Okay, these are similar to noun phrase, but only difference is noun phrase is a group of words made up of noun and its modifiers. Okay, verb phrase is nothing but it is a group of words made up of verb, helping verb and its modifiers. Examples: ran quickly to catch, filled with horror, dedicated to. See the example: have you been sitting in my chair? Here have been sitting is a verb phrase. Next, no, I don't know her. No, I don't know her. Here do and know are verb phrase. Next, do you know Geeta? Here do and know are verb phrase. I should have gone to school today. Here should I have gone is a verb phrase. Next we move on to prepositional phrase. A prepositional phrase is a group of words that begins with a preposition and help to explain the relationship between two things. Okay, it's begin with a preposition and we know for what purpose we are using the preposition, in order to show the relationship between the words, isn't it? Okay, examples: on the boat, in the school, over the tree. Please sit down for a while. Here for a while is a phrase. Here for, with a for, it is a prepositional phrase. The army is on the move. On the move is a phrase. On is a prepositional phrase. By the way, here by is a prepositional phrase. By the way, how is John? Okay, I hope you have understood. We will recall from the beginning. In today's class we have learned phrases. Okay, in today's class we are going to learn phrases and classes. Okay, up to now we have learned what is meant by subject, predicate, phrases and its kind. Okay, what is meant by subject? Subject is nothing but a doer of an action. The whole sentence talks about the subject. What is meant by predicate? Predicate tells about what the subject does, isn't it? Predicate tells about what the subject does. Okay, if you see the sentence, apart from the subject, whatever is given in the sentence, they are called predicate. Apart from the subject, the rest of the things are given in the sentence are predicate. Okay, while you are marking the subject, you have to include the articles. For example, we have seen one example, right? The green frog, isn't it? The big green frog. Here you have to underline from the big green frog. Okay, everything are subject. Okay, what is meant by phrase? Phrase is nothing but it is a group of words that forms a meaningful unit and it is not a complete sentence. Okay, phrase is nothing but it is a group of words which is meaningful but it is not a complete sentence. I repeat once again, listen carefully. Phrase is a group of words, okay, which gives meaning but it is not a complete sentence. Okay, in another way we can say it does not have subject or a verb. Okay, it can either have subject or verb. It doesn't have both the subject and verb, or it doesn't have both the subject and predicate. Okay, kinds of phrases. There are several kinds of phrases. Okay, we have seen what is meant by noun phrase, adjective, what is meant by noun phrase, verb phrase and prepositional phrase. Okay, first one, noun phrase. Noun phrase is nothing but it is a group of words made up of noun and its modifier, a white car. Similarly, verb phrase is nothing but group of words made up of verb, helping verb and its modifiers. We have seen an example, right? Have you been sitting in my chair? Ran quickly to catch. Next is prepositional phrase. Prepositional phrase is also a group of words that begins with the preposition and it shows a relationship between the words. Example, by the way. Here, by is the prepositional phrase. Is it clear? By the way is a prepositional phrase. Now we will see what is meant by class and its types. Class. What is meant by class? A class is a group of words that contains both the subject and the predicate. A phrase is a group of words that contains, that do not contain subject or a predicate. Here, class is a group of words that contains both the subject and the predicate. Okay? Class is of two types. One is independent class, dependent class. Independent class, otherwise called as main class. Dependent class, otherwise called as subordinate class. Independent class, otherwise called as main class. Dependent class, otherwise called as subordinate class. Okay? By the name itself, we can understand what is meant by independent class and dependent class. Okay? Independent. Okay? It doesn't depend on anything. Okay? It is a complete sentence. Independent class is a complete sentence, can stand alone and express a complete thought. It can stand alone and express a complete thought. Whereas dependent class, it has a subject and predicate. Both independent and dependent class has a subject and predicate, but only difference is that independent class, it doesn't depend on anything in order to express a complete thought. But in dependent class, it depends on another sentence in order to express a complete thought. Is it clear? Okay, we see the example. You can get it clearly. She was ill, so she couldn't attend the class. She was ill, so she couldn't attend the class. Okay? In this sentence, it has two sentences, isn't it? One sentence is she was ill. Okay? It gives a meaning. It has a subject and a predicate. Okay? See the next sentence. So she couldn't attend the class. Okay? This sentence is also a complete sentence which has a subject and a predicate. But what is the difference? Okay? If we remove this part, that is, so she couldn't attend the class. If we have only this first part, she was ill. Is it meaningful? Yes, it is meaningful. It has subject and predicate, and it gives a complete sense, or it expresses a complete thought. But if you see the next sentence, that is, so she couldn't attend the class. Okay? It has subject and predicate. It is meaningful, but only difference. So she couldn't attend the class. Okay, something is missing, is it? So she couldn't attend the class. Okay, what is missing here? Yes, she was ill, so she couldn't attend the class. Something has happened to her, isn't it? So that she couldn't attend the class, isn't it? Okay, so without she was ill, this is incomplete. So we can call this is a dependent class, and this is a independent class. What is the other name of independent class? Here, which is independent class and which is dependent class? Yes, you are correct. Karagatam is a popular folk dance is the independent class or main class. Which is performed during village festival is a dependent class, otherwise called as subordinate class. Which is a subordinate conjunction? Yes, which? Here, which is a subordinate conjunction? Conjunction, we know what is meant by conjunction, isn't it? It is that it acts as a connectors or linkers, isn't it? Okay, which is performed during village festival depends on the first sentence in order to give a complete thought. Is it clear? Okay, now we see types of classes. Okay, there are 3 types of classes: adjective class, adverb class, and noun class. What is meant by adjective class? Okay, first you tell me what is meant by adjective. Adjective is nothing but describes a noun. The same thing. Describes or gives more information about a noun. Describes or gives more information about the noun. Take this example. The cake that she bought was delicious. That she bought was delicious. The cake that she bought was delicious. Okay, this sentence that here that is the adjective class and that denotes the cake. Okay, similarly next, I visited the town where they met. I visited the town. What sentence? Where they met is another class. Here where they met. Where talks about, where says about the town. Okay, tells about the town. So there is the adjective class. See the next sentence. The game which was played yesterday ended in a tie. The game which was played yesterday ended in a tie. Here which refers the game. Which refers the game. Okay, once again from the beginning you see what is meant by adjective class. Adjective class describes what gives more information about the noun. Here that gives information about the cake. Where gives more information about the town. Which gives more information about the game. Is it clear? Next is adverb class. What is meant by adverb? Adverb is nothing but which describes about the verb. Isn't it the same thing? Adverb class describes or gives more information about the verb. Adverb class describes or gives more information about the verb. Example, all stood up when the president came. All stood up when the president came. Here, when says about, okay, who? Yes, who all stood up? Who all stand up? Okay, when did they stand up? Okay, when did they stand up? Okay, here when is the adverb class. Next, she was happy because her father gave a watch. Okay, here because is the adverb class. In the previous sentence, when is the adverb class. It describes about the verb. Here verb is a stood up. Here verb is a was. Okay, so it describes about the verb. Noun class. A noun class takes the place of a noun in the sentence. Noun class takes the place of a noun in a sentence. This is the best rule that I know. Okay, this is the noun class. I don't know if my sister is at home. It takes the place of a noun. Noun class starts with that, is, and whether. Okay, we will recall from the beginning. In today's class, we have seen what is meant by phrase, class, phrase kinds, and class types. Okay, before recall, we see the difference between phrase and class. Phrase. Phrase do not contain a subject and a predicate. It has either subject or verb. Okay, but it does not contain both the subject and a predicate. Whereas class contains both the subject and a predicate. It gives the meaning. Class also gives the meaning. Next, that's not a complete sentence. Okay, it is a complete sentence. It conveys a thought, but it is not a complete sentence. It is a complete sentence. predicate. Clause. Clause is nothing but it also a group of words. Okay, it gives a complete meaning. It has a subject and a predicate. Kinds of phrase. Okay, there are several kinds of phrase. We have seen noun phrase, verb phrase, and prepositional phrase. What is meant by noun phrase? A group of words that made up of noun and its modifiers. That is called noun phrase. What is meant by verb phrase? A group of words that made up of verb, helping verb, and its modifiers. And next, prepositional phrase. Prepositional phrase, it also a group of words that begins with preposition and also tells about the relationship between the words. Next, types of classes. Okay, class is of two types. One is dependent class, another one is independent class. Dependent class otherwise called as subordinate class. Independent class otherwise called as main class. Okay, dependent class and independent class both has a subject and a predicate. But what is the difference? Dependent class, it should depend on another sentence in order to convey the complete thought. Whereas independent class, it does not depend on another sentence. It stands alone and it conveys a complete thought. Okay, we have seen the types of classes, isn't it? What are they? Noun class, adjective class, adverb class. Adjective class is nothing but group of words which describes a noun and gives more information about the noun. Next is adverb class. Adverb class, it is also a group of words which describes the verb and which gives more information about the verb. Whereas noun class is act as a noun in the place of a noun in the sentence. Okay, hope you have understood what is meant by phrase and what is meant by class. Okay, just to keep this in your mind, phrase, it doesn't have a subject and predicate. Okay, whereas class, it has both a subject and predicate. Okay, phrase and class both are meaningful. But what is the difference? Phrase is not a complete sentence. Okay, it doesn't convey the complete thought. Whereas class is a complete sentence which conveys a complete thought. Is it clear? Hope you have understood. Thank you, my dear children. See you in the